45 millimeters. That is the exact difference between the left side and the right side of this car's wheelbase. And no, that is not a typo or accident damage. It is a secret Renault built into more than 8 million cars on purpose, and almost nobody who ever drove one had any idea it was there. This little machine looked like nothing more than a tin box on wheels, the kind of car French farmers used to haul manure and city clerks used to deliver mail, and yet this same humble hatchback quietly became one of the most successful cars France ever built, staying in production for 33 straight years, from 1961 all the way to 1994. A run so long that a baby born the year it launched could have bought their own brand new one the year it finally ended. Hold on to that number, 45 millimeters, because by the end of this video you will understand exactly why Renault's engineers built a car with mismatched wheels on purpose, and the reason is far more clever than you would guess. We are also going to get into a race across one of the deadliest deserts on Earth, a doorless beach version most people have never heard of, and a construction trick borrowed from a much older era of car making. So if you have ever seen one of these boxy little French cars puttering down a country road and assumed it was just a simple, cheap runabout, stay with me. Because what most people never realized was that the Renault 4 was never meant to be ordinary at all. It was meant to be revolutionary, wrapped in the plainest shell imaginable. Let's start with that wheelbase mystery, because once you know the truth, you cannot unsee it. Walk around a Renault 4 with a tape measure, and you will find that the distance between the front and rear wheel on the right side is measurably longer than on the left. Renault's engineers wanted a completely flat cargo floor with a huge, unobstructed loading area in the back. So instead of stacking the rear torsion bar suspension on top of itself the way most cars of the era did, they mounted one torsion bar directly in front of the other. That solution gave the car soft, long travel suspension and a genuinely flat floor for hauling cargo. But it also meant the wheels on each side could no longer line up symmetrically. Drivers on the road never noticed a thing, because the car handled beautifully regardless. But restorers working on these cars today still get a small jolt of panic the first time they measure the chassis and think something has gone badly wrong underneath. It is a strange little secret hiding in plain sight on millions of driveways and old barns across Europe. And it shows just how far Renault was willing to bend convention to make this humble car work. Here is another surprising part of the story, about what you cannot see at all. Instead of building the Renault 4 as a single welded unibody shell like most small cars of that decade, Renault used a separate steel platform chassis with the body bolted on top, almost like the older, pre-war style of construction most manufacturers had already abandoned. This gave the roof and pillars far less structural work to do, which let Renault make the window pillars noticeably thinner than on competing cars, giving drivers a lighter, airier cabin with better visibility. It also meant that same basic platform could be stretched, reshaped, or reused to create vans, pickup trucks, and even completely different models like the Renault 6 and the rugged little Rodeo. Picture sitting behind the wheel of your own Renault 4 on a Sunday drive, never once realizing that the reason you could see so clearly out of that little car was a construction trick borrowed from a much older era of automotive engineering. Now here is where things get genuinely strange. The front windows on the Renault 4 did not wind down the way every other car window did. They slid open sideways, along a simple track, the exact same way you might slide open a window in your kitchen. Why build a modern 1960s car this way? This design was cheaper to produce, lighter in weight, and far less likely to jam than any winding mechanism. And it also created extra storage space inside the door panels, which drivers genuinely appreciated for storing items like maps, gloves, or a fresh baguette on the drive home. It was a low-tech solution that quietly outlasted plenty of fancier mechanisms fitted to far more expensive cars of the same period. And it became one of those small charms that owners still talk about with real affection more than 60 years later. But stay with me, because we are only just getting started, and the next few secrets are the ones almost nobody outside of France has ever heard, including a race across one of the harshest deserts on the planet that this humble Grossregatta had absolutely no business finishing, let alone finishing in second place. What most people never realized was that the entire shape of this car traces back to a single sentence from Renault's own chairman, Pierre Dreyfus, who reportedly told his design team he wanted a car as versatile and universal as a good pair of blue jeans, something that could serve a farmer, a doctor, a young family, or a delivery driver equally well. That single request led engineers to give the car a flat loading floor, a removable rear bench seat, and a full rear hatch instead of a traditional trunk lid, so the interior could transform in seconds from a family car into a small van. Many automotive historians consider this combination one of the very first true hatchback body styles ever put into mass production, years before that shape became the default choice for small cars across Europe. The impact on everyday drivers was deeply personal. A family could load a week of groceries, fold the seats flat to move furniture, or hose out the cargo area after a muddy camping trip, all in the same simple little car that also handled the daily school run without complaint. If your grandparents ever owned one of these, there is a good chance it carried everything from newborn babies to bags of cement, and it never once complained about the job. But here is the surprising part that really shows how far this humble little car traveled from its intended purpose. In 1979, a nearly stock Renault 4 entered the brutal Paris-Dakar Rally, a race across shifting dunes and punishing heat that has broken far more powerful and expensive machines before and since. Against enormous odds, that little economy car finished second place overall, beaten only by a purpose-built Range Rover. Picture it, a car designed to deliver mail and carry cabbages to market, going wheel to wheel with rugged four-wheel drive off-roaders across some of the harshest terrain on Earth and coming home in second. That single result cemented a folk hero status for the Renault 4 that persists today, and it directly inspired the 4L Trophy, a charity rally that still sends thousands of students driving old Renault 4s across the deserts of Morocco every year, raising money and donating school supplies to communities along the route. Once you know that story, you can never look at a rusty old Renault 4 in a barn the same way again. The car's usefulness went far beyond racing, and this is where its cultural footprint really comes into focus. Because it was cheap, easy to repair, and endlessly adaptable, the Renault 4 became the vehicle of choice for an astonishing range of professions across France and beyond. The gendarmerie used dark blue Renault 4 vans for local patrols. The postal service relied on them for daily mail delivery. Utility workers from the state electricity and gas companies used sky blue versions to reach remote job sites, and independent tradesmen bought plain white or grey models because parts were cheap and any small-town mechanic could fix them. For an entire generation of French citizens, the Renault 4 was not a car admired from a distance in a glossy magazine. It was simply part of daily life, as familiar as a baguette from the corner bakery. And that quiet, constant presence is exactly what made it so deeply loved once people looked back on it with nostalgia decades later. There was even a stripped-down, doorless version called the Plein Air, built with no doors and no side windows at all, designed for beach towns and holiday resorts. And today those rare surviving examples are among the most sought-after Renault 4 variants among collectors, precisely because so few people remember they existed at all. Even the nicknames people gave this car around the world tell their own little story, and this is one of the most human details in the whole history of the car. In France, it became known affectionately as the Quattrelle, a playful shortening of Quatre and L. In Italy, where it was built under license, people called it the Rana, meaning frog, because of its rounded, wide-eyed front end. In Spain, owners nicknamed it Cuatro Laters, or Four Tin Cans, a cheeky nod to how thin its bodywork felt in your hands, even though that thin steel body proved remarkably tough and repairable over decades of hard daily use. These nicknames were not marketing inventions dreamed up by an advertising agency. They came directly from ordinary drivers who grew genuinely attached to a car that never tried to impress anyone and somehow won people over anyway. When production finally ended, Renault had built more than 8 million of these cars, making it the best-selling French car in history, a record that stood until the Peugeot 206 finally surpassed it in 2010. Nearly 2 decades after the last Renault 4 rolled off the line. Very few cars in automotive history managed to combine that kind of enormous commercial success with such genuine, personal emotional attachment. But the Renault 4 pulled it off by never once pretending to be anything other than exactly what it was. A simple, honest, endlessly useful little car that happened to hide some remarkably clever engineering underneath its plain steel skin. From that mismatched 45mm wheelbase we started with to a chassis borrowed from an older era too. Sliding windows to a second-place finish across the Sahara that nobody saw coming. So here is a question for you, and I would genuinely love to read the answer in the comments below. Did you or your family ever own a Renault 4, or do you remember riding in the back seat of one as a child, squeezed between grocery bags on the way home from the market? Share your memory in the comments below, because stories like these deserve to be remembered properly. And if this video taught you something about this humble French icon you never knew before, feel free to pass it on to someone who might remember one parked in their own driveway long ago.